year 26 and 27 rate recommendations for the City of Alexandria's Sanitation Authority, now known as Alex Renew. If any members of the public wish to make comments today, please make sure you have signed up on the sheet outside the room. If you wish to be heard and have not yet signed in, please do so now. I'm going to take a few minutes to review the process for the public hearing, and I ask for your cooperation in adhering to the following procedures. Everyone will be provided an opportunity to be heard. All comments shall be made from the speaker's roster, and I will call your name from the sign-in list. All speakers making comments will state their name and address for the record. Please speak slowly, clearly. This allows us to capture your comments correctly. Now, in fairness to all in attendance, each person will be given an opportunity to address the board for a period not to exceed 3 minutes. Now, please refrain from clapping, cheering, or calling out during or at the conclusion of anyone's presentation. We're taking every comment now so that we can make a thoughtful, the board can make a thoughtful and informed decision on how to meet the proposed fiscal 26 budget and the rate recommendation for fiscal 26 and 27. The purpose of the hearing is for the board to hear and consider pertinent information related to Alex Renew's proposed fiscal year 26 budget and fiscal year 26 and 27 rate recommendation. Staff will provide a presentation to the board and to the public on the proposed budget and rate recommendation. Then, at that point, we'll take public comment from those in attendance today. Now, before hearing from the members of the public, let me introduce Alex Renew's General Manager and CEO, Justin Carl, who will lead the staff presentation. Carl.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. As you mentioned, staff are going to present an overview of Alex Renew's fiscal year 2026 budget, as well as the fiscal years 2026 and 2027 rate recommendation. Just a quick overview of the presentation, almost a summary in advance of the details we're going to present. The proposed fiscal year 2026 budget is $258.3 million, of which $200 million are attributed to capital infrastructure investments. Half of that $200 million is associated with our ongoing River Renew program at $100 million, which is entering its sixth and final year of construction. River Renew is a state mandated project needed to comply with a law passed by the Virginia General Assembly in April of 2017. It requires Alexandria to remediate its combined sewer system by July 1st, 2026. Alex Renew is leading the funding and construction efforts for this needed infrastructure investment, and it represents the single largest infrastructure project in the history of Alexandria. To support these ongoing investments, staff are recommending rate adjustments to fiscal year 2026 and 2027. While these adjustments are needed to meet the General Assembly deadline, Alex Renew has worked hard to find the lowest cost of funding available to better support our ratepayers. This funding strategy has kept our bills on the lower end of initial projections when we initially showed the funding for this job back in April of 2018. However, we also realize that these rate adjustments can represent a significant burden on our customers. Therefore, in 2024, we launched the Lifeline Emergency Assistance Program to provide customers assistance with paying their sewer bill. Each year, a customer can get a bill credit up to $1,000 to help pay their bill. While the cost of the River Renew program is substantial, the economic and environmental benefits the project will provide our community and waterways are worth celebrating. We are already seeing some combined sewer overflow control on the Hooks Run side. And once the entire program is complete, River Renew will prevent over 120 million gallons of combined sewage from polluting our waterways each year, establishing a foundation for a future fishable, swimmable Potomac River. I do want to take a second to thank staff for their year-round diligence in maintaining our budget as well as our rate model. And I also want to thank the board and extend staff's appreciation for your engagement and thorough review of our budget document and our rate recommendation. And with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Dean for the presentation.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Carl. Good morning, board chair, members of the board, and members of the public. My name is Caitlin Bean. I'm the Chief Administrative Officer. As Mr. Carl introduced, myself and as well as our Director of Finance, Mr. Lake Akinkube, will be walking through this morning's presentation on the proposed fiscal year 2026 operating and capital budget, as well as the fiscal years 2026 and 2027 rate recommendation. We'll start with a brief overview of Alex Renew. We are the wastewater authority for Alexandria, Virginia. Each year at our wastewater treatment plant that is shown on this slide, we purify over 13 billion gallons of wastewater. We serve a population of 300,000 people across Alexandria as well as portions of Fairfax County. We were established in 1952 as an independent public authority here in Virginia and are governed by a 5-member citizen board that has joined us here today. It's important to note, and what is represented in these slides, that as an independent public wastewater authority in Virginia, Alex Renew's sole source of funding is through our sewer rates. And with that, Mr. Akinkube will walk through an overview of our proposed budget for fiscal year 2026.
Thank you, Ms. Behan. Thank you, Mr. Carl. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, members of the public, all folks watching online. Again, my name is Lake Akinkube. I'm the Director of Finance here at Alex Renew. Each year, staff develop an annual operating and capital budget in accordance with our mission, vision, and strategic plan to support our organization needs. The operating budget includes costs associated with our day-to-day operations of our wastewater treatment plant. As Ms. Behan said earlier, it is primarily funded by rates collected from Alexandria's customers and our operating revenue and contributions from Fairfax. The capital budget funds both long and short-term projects and improvement to Alex Renew's infrastructure. It is based on the first year of a 10-year capital improvement program, which is also included in our budget. The capital budget is funded through operating revenue, debt, including loans and bonds, grants, contributions from Fairfax, and cash. As Mr. Carl said earlier, the proposed FY 2026 operating and capital budget you see on the screen is $258.3 million. This infographic provides the various expenses that makes up that total proposed budget. Just a quick orientation. The white circles on the screen represents the operating expenses. The purple circles represents the capital expenses, and the one yellow circle at the bottom represents debt service. A lot of most I should say, of our capital project are debt funded. We go out, as I said on the previous slide, get loans and bonds. We get that over a period of time and we make payments annually. That is what that annual debt service yellow circle is. Total operating budget is $40.9 million. That's a combination of the full circle and the half, the full white circle and the half white circle. You see right there, $40.9 million, which is 39 million of that is to fund our staff, utilities, and chemical we use. The remaining 1.9 million is to fund the treatment at the Arlington County for the Alexandria flows that goes into that treatment plant. Mr. Carl mentioned earlier, approximately 200 million of the 258.3 million is related to various capital projects. And of that, approximately 200 million, half of that is for the ongoing River Renew project. The remaining capital budget is broken down by significant investments in our wastewater treatment plant in form of the headwork renewal project and the biosolid diversification project. As I said earlier, the proposed budget also includes approximately 20 million for payments on our existing debt to fund our capital project. This slide shows the breakdown of the 258.3 million across the expenses and the anticipated revenue needed to fund those expenses. Revenue includes 120 million in debt proceeds and other funding sources. 59 million is from contributions from Fairfax. 78 million of the revenue in operating revenue is from both ratepayers and Fairfax contribution. It's important to know that over 75% of the budget is capital spending, which includes infrastructure construction, improvement, and upgrade. As I said earlier, and again, as Mr. Carr alluded to earlier, approximately 100 million of the capital spending is associated with River Renew, which is the largest infrastructure project in Alexandria's history. There is a proposed rate recommendation for fiscal year 2026 of 5% and for fiscal year 2027 of 5.7%. River Renew accounts for over 60% of the proposed rate increase. The bill impact related to River Renew are on the lower end of the original projection from April 2018. As I said earlier, staff put together the budget in accordance to our mission, vision, and strategic plan to support the organization. From then, highlights the priorities for every year we prepare our budget. So the priority for FY2026 include, as you see on the screen, continued capital investment to achieve our core mission and managing and treating wastewater. Implement rate adjustments to pay debt incurred by River Renew and support day-to-day operations. Continue to cultivate a diverse and healthy work environment through workforce development, upskilling, and retention efforts. Continue to maintain our strong rating of AAA with credit agency, which is the highest rating you could get. Continue to engage with stakeholders and peer utilities to promote initiatives that are beneficial to the customers. Again, as I've said, as Ms. Carr said, and Ms. Piang alluded to this too as well, that over half of the proposed capital budget for this year, FY 2026, is for River Renew. River Renew is a major project focused on 4 legacies outfall dating back to the 1800s that overflow about 70 times each year, resulting in 140 million gallons of combined sewage entering our waterways. The map on the right, as you see right there, shows Alex Renew as well as the 4 outfalls. This project is state mandated from the law passed from the Virginia General Assembly in 2017, requiring the reductions of this outflow. In response to this law, Alex Renew is building a project that includes a tunnel shown on the screen, navy blue, you can see, by watching me online. A large interceptor sewer showing green, and a large pumping station at Alex Renew. The new infrastructure will bring combined sewage to be treated at Alex Renew wastewater treatment plant. The project costs $615 million and started in 2018 with its anticipation completion of next year. To date, we've spent approximately $500 million, and the project is over 80% completed, as Mr. Carl alluded to in his opening remarks. 120 million of the combined sewage will be captured annually and purified at our wastewater treatment plant. This project is crucial in setting the stage for a fishable swimming future for the Potomac River. As a public wastewater authority in Virginia, Alex Renew sole mechanism for revenue for capital projects like River Renew is through sewer rate charge each year. Each person who uses the wastewater, Ms. Fian alluded to this earlier, like a significant portion of our rate comes from our rate payers. And as you could see on the screen, to collect enough revenue to execute project to meet the legislative mandate and meet our operational needs while keeping rate as low as possible, Alex Renew procured low interest state and federal loans to cover the immediate cost of River Renew. These low interest rate loans will be repaid over a 30-year period, similar to like a mortgage you take out and you pay over a 30-year period. And we do that through our rate increases as well. Meaning we didn't incur the debt and we didn't charge all the associated impact in 1 year. The impacted cost is spread over a 30-year period, as you were seeing in our rates. Again, as you can see, the 615 million, 417 million, or approximately 68% of that is funded by Alexandra's ratepayers. About 9% of it is funded by contribution from Fairfax County. And about 20% of it was funded by state grants of about 140 million. Without that, we will have incurred an additional 20% debt without that one. Again, these are all direct impacts towards like the proposed rate we have for our customers on an annual basis. Without that, rates will have been slightly higher than what they currently are now. As you see on the slides here, this includes FY fiscal year 2026 capital investment. In addition to River Renew that I've already talked about, with an FY26 budget of 96 million to be exact, Alex Renew is investing in necessary upgrades to ensure the reliability of our treatment plant. So in 2017, when the state mandated that Alex Renew fix the combined overflow sewage it was experiencing, a lot of this project at that point has been identified, but due to the mandate, Alex Renew shifted its focus solely on River Renew and parked this project to the side. Again, these are critical projects. But now that the River Renew project is nearing completion, Alex Renew now has the ability to go back to engage and execute this project that they've identified, which are critical to Alex Renew's infrastructure. The biosolid diversification project includes, to the far left of the screen, as you see right there, upgrades to meet emerging regulation, increase bioenergy production, and realize beneficial end use for biosolid. In next fiscal year, we anticipate continuing construction of short-term upgrades to improve reliability and continued design of medium-term upgrade to reduce the volume of biosolids. The headworks, second picture you see right there, with an approximate budget of 20.7 million for FY26, includes improvement to aging equipment that provides initial screening of debris larger than a pea and settling for solid as small as a grain of sand. In next fiscal year, we anticipate finalizing design and starting construction on primary settling system. The nutrient reduction project of a budget of 20.5 million in FY2026, as you're seeing on the screen, includes rehabilitation of processes providing the final settling and filtration of wastewater to further reduce nutrient loads. In next year, we anticipate procuring a design builder and beginning design on the project. For River Renewal, again, as we enter with over 80% of the project already completed, next year we'll be finalizing the construction of the pumping station and diversion facilities and testing and commissioning the system. We'll also be training our team to operate the system and placing the system into operations. We also have outgoing routine investment, last picture on the screen, called the Improvement, Renewal, and Replacement Program, popularly known internally as the IRR program. These programs are improvements that are generally under $1 million and not part of the major upgrade. And these are continual routine investment to maintain and repair equipment throughout the wastewater plant. Green bond update. So in June 2024, Alex Renew received 50 million of green bonds to fund the biosolid diversification project, headworks renewal, and the nutrient reduction project. This slide captures the update on progress on this project. We began construction on short-term biosolids improvement, issuing $18 million in contracts to improve system reliability. We developed preliminary design for a solid dryer to prepare for future regulations, reduce biosolid volumes, and support greenhouse gas emission, executing a $20 million design contract. We also advanced concept and procured an owner's advisor for the nutrient reduction project to support capacity expansion for the city's growth and meet current nutrient reduction limits. Finally, we are also finalizing the key design package to advance the headwork renewal construction. Fiscal year 2026 operating expenses. This slide shows a breakdown of the operating budget. As I mentioned in the earlier slide, the total operating expenses are $40.9 million, a 16% increase from prior year. Personnel continues to account for almost 50% of the operating expense. And in FY2026, that shows a 6.5% increase from prior year, primarily driven by additional maintenance apprentices to prepare for upcoming retirement. A couple of slides back, we talked about one of our priorities in putting together an engaging workforce, upskilling, and retention effort. We have some retirement looming within the next few years, and we want to get staff on board. We want to get employees on, train up before this retirement happen, just to keep the high-performing duties and the wastewater professional duties keep going on the can't talk to them, I'm sorry, on the wastewater plant side. Included in the budget is also an addition of $2.5 million in reserve to account for unforeseen regulatory event and emergency. A 10.3% increase in utilities is primarily driven by utility, natural gas, and water used on a day-to-day basis at the wastewater plant. A 16.1% increase in consumables or chemicals, primarily driven by vendor cost increases from inflation and higher loading into the wastewater facility. Again, these are items and events that are needed on a day-to-day basis to treat our flows. This slide shows the expenses and illustrate revenue that funds each category following the flow of funds in accordance to Alex Renew financial policy. Again, the total revenue broken down into three categories of our expenses: operating, debt service, and capital. Total operating revenue and funding source is approximately $78.2 million. That $78.2 million is going to fund the entire operating expense of $40.9 million, is going to fund the entire debt service budget of $20.2 million, and the remaining $17.4 million goes as a funding source towards the capital expenses for FY2026. The remaining, so that accounts for $78.2 million of the total $258.3 million. The remaining $197.8 million will come via loans, Fairfax contribution, and cash to fund the remaining capital expenses for FY2026. At this point, I'm going to turn back to Ms. Caitlin Fien, our Chief Administrative Officer, for the second half of the presentation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Afinkube. Alex Renew is proposing a 5% rate increase for fiscal year 2026 and a 5.7% rate increase for fiscal year 2027. The rate recommendation is part of a series of rate increases that have been implemented since 2020 primarily to support the Riverview project. This slide shows the average residential customer's monthly bill who uses 4,000 gallons of water as the rate increases have been implemented over the last several years. The rollout of these increases over a multi-year period was done with the goal of minimizing rate shock to the extent possible while ensuring that we have sufficient funding for the Riverview project. Keeping in mind that these are significant impacts, we looked at how these increases compare with other sewer and water entities across the U.S. The cost of water and sewer services across the U.S. has increased by an average of about 5% annually since 2022, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, who has a water and sewer maintenance index. Alex Renew has managed to stay within this range, even while implementing the largest infrastructure project in Alexandria. If you look at what is driving our rate increases, Riverview accounts for just over 60% of the rate increases for the next 2 years. This slide shows the breakdown of rate increases for the average residential customer. Again, this is someone who's using 4,000 gallons of water per month. For fiscal year 2026, the average residential customer will see an increase on their bill of $2.76. The purple dollars represent about $1.77 of this is attributed to Riverview, with the remainder associated with the needed increase for our operating expenses. For fiscal year 2027, the average monthly residential bill will increase by $3.31, with $2 of that increase associated with Riverview and the remainder for operating expenses. While the significant rate increases are needed to meet the Riverview project's mandated deadline, Alex Renew has worked to find the lowest cost of funding available to manage the needed increases. Mr. Afinkube walked through our financing plan for Riverview. The funding strategy has kept customer bills on the lower end of what was initially projected in 2018 when we took this project on. This slide shows the original bill impact projection for Riverview ranged from $20 to $40. That is an increase per month for our residential customers. However, the work of securing low interest loans when interest rates were at an all-time low in 2021 and the advocating for grant funding from the state, we have been able to keep these increases, which are currently projected to increase to $20.18 in 2029. This slide shows Alex Renew's rates with respect to the proposed rate recommendations. Alex Renew has two charges, a base charge and a wastewater treatment charge. There is one residential base charge, and then for commercial customers, the base charge is broken down according to meter size. Both commercial and residential customers are charged a wastewater treatment charge per 1,000 gallons that they use in any given month. This chart shows how the base charges and wastewater treatment charges would change under the rate recommendation. For each year, the proposed rate increases are applied uniformly across these charges. Acknowledging that these rate increases have increased our rates over the last several years, we have continued to assess the affordability of our rates. There are a number of affordability metrics that are used by EPA, rating agencies, and other industry groups across the water and wastewater industry. We're showing our rates using one metric that uses the lowest quintile income in comparison to our annual wastewater bill. The lowest quintile income represents 20% of the population with the lowest income. When we use this particular metric, Alex Renew's household wastewater costs as a percentage of the lowest quintile income range from 1.5 to 1.9%, indicating that we are below the targets that have been set by rating agencies and water wastewater industry groups. We recognize, though, that our rate adjustments may still represent a significant increase to our customers. And so, as Mr. Carl introduced, we launched LEAP, which stands for the Lifeline Emergency Assistance Program, in 2024. This program is to provide additional relief to our customers who may be experiencing difficulty in paying their sewer bills. LEAP provides a once a year, up to $1,000 credit to customers. For reference, the average residential customer bill is about $650 per year. Customers can enroll by calling or emailing our customer service. And donations can be accepted by our nonprofit partner at Dollar Energy. To date, we have distributed approximately $60,000 to over 80 customers. We also have or offer flexible zero interest payment plans for customers who have an existing balance and wish to pay that balance off over time. Customers can enroll in payment plans by calling or emailing our customer service. As part of the outcomes of our recent 2025 board retreat in February, we are currently evaluating alternative rate structures and rate revisions and associated phasing plans for potential implementation as early as fiscal year 2027. Potential revisions will be discussed at monthly regular board meetings, and any proposed rate changes would be conducted in accordance with Section 15.2-5136 of Virginia Code for public notice and public hearing procedures, just as we're doing today. This public hearing is part of a greater schedule to publicly present our fiscal year budget and rate recommendation. We began this process in November by presenting a preview of the fiscal year 2026 budget and anticipated rate recommendation to the Board of Directors Finance and Audit Committee. In March, we presented a preliminary draft of the fiscal year 2026 budget and fiscal years 2026 and 27 rate recommendation, again to the Finance and Audit Committee. The budget and rate recommendation were presented by the Finance and Audit Committee to the board at our March board meeting for consideration. In April, the Board of Directors approved the draft budget and rate recommendation for public notice and to set a date for today's public hearing. In June, the Board of Directors will vote on the proposed budget and rate recommendation at their monthly board meeting. The health of our community and its waterways are fundamental to our mission of protecting the waterways that connect us. We remain committed to completing River New and ensuring the operation of our treatment plant every day to achieve this vision. This concludes the staff presentation of the fiscal year 2026 operating and capital budget and fiscal years 2026 and 2027 rate recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carl, Ms. Bean, and Ms. Coupe. A question before we jump into the next phase. Last night, we had a severe rain event. Rain was dropped on Alexandria. Also Wednesday night, we had another. We know if those events caused by sewer overflows at 1 and 2.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, it's hard to look into the future, but when River Renew goes online in 26, will that capture those kinds of overflows?
Potentially.
Yeah.
Not knowing how intense the storm was at a specific point, but I think the better way to think about it, there's typically 70 rain events a year. Every time it rains, our combined sewers overflow. You need just a little less than a quarter inch to overflow. Those 70 events will be reduced to less than 4. So think about 4 rain events a year causing overflows or waterways as opposed to 70.
Thank you. Thank you. Now we begin the process of public testimony and comment. Before we do, let me say that members of the board are residents of Alexandria. They're selected by city council and are very active in our own communities. And in the course of our daily lives, we all receive comments from our neighbors about the mission of Alex Renew, what Alex Renew does, and about the rates. So that factors into our decision about rate structure as well. Now, the last few days, Alex Renew has received 5 written statements that are included in the board's green folder, and copies are made available to the public at the sign-in desk and uploaded to the budget materials at alexrenew.com. Staff has already provided responses to these written statements in advance of today's public hearing. Let me summarize. 3 of the written statements were in opposition to the proposed fiscal 26 and 27 rate recommendations due to affordability concerns. Staff addressed the need and purpose of the proposed rate increases in the presentation today and outlined Alex Renew's payment assistance program, which provides payment plans up to $1,000 bill credit per year for customers receiving assistance. One of the written statements was in strong opposition to the proposed 26 and 27 rate recommendation. And finally, one of the written statements was related to a billing issue that was resolved in advance of this public hearing. Now, in addition to the written public statements, the Board Finance and Audit Committee submitted a memo to staff on April 21st with comments and questions on the fiscal 26 budget. Staff has provided acceptable responses, and the memo, which is provided in today's public meeting materials, has been posted to alexrenew.com with the associated budget materials. Now, Ms. Huff, is there anyone who wishes to submit public comment without speaking now?
Just the ones that were part of the public comment record. And we have no members of the public wishing to speak today.
Members of the public wishing to speak now?
No.
And other than the written comments we've received, no additional ones.
No.
Well, I would like to thank everyone who has submitted written comments, if they're listening. Are there any questions from the board? Well, being no further comments, I close the public comment period for this hearing. This concludes the public hearing regarding Alex Renew's proposed fiscal 26 budget and fiscal year 26-27 rate recommendation. The record is now closed for written comments. Of course, the board will vote, as said earlier, on Alex Renew's proposed fiscal year 26 budget and fiscal year 26-27 rate recommendation at our next scheduled board meeting on June 17th, 2025 at 6 p.m. in this room. Oh, of course. Board meeting on the 17th of June. If there are no comments from the board, I will entertain a motion to adjourn this public hearing. Second. All in favor?
Good catch. Sorry. And good catch.
Next is.
The meeting's so late this month.